Jam is probably a good option, but I'm gonna go for a small bet. And again, give the recreational an option. I think giving the recreational an option is usually a good idea because in general, what they do with options is significantly worse than what a regular or what a solver would do with options. Hi there, boys and girls. Welcome to this very first live play and explain of 2022. We're going back to the roots. Got a little bit tired of streaming, but I still wanted to provide you guys with some high-level playing content as well. So let's see how we will do. Pool is looking quite reggish with two guys that I don't know. 10-9 off. I'm going to 3-bet some of the time. Not this time. Face a C-bet. I think it's quite close. I think I'm going to call with a heart. I would have folded 8-9. And I think on the turn I'm just going to make a small bet. And I think we can go quite small here. If he has a hand that is nothing, like 8-9 offsuit, for example, I think, you know, it's probably a good spot. And I think on the river, we don't have the best hand for an overbet, I would say. But I do think the board run out quite good for an overbet, so that's what we'll do. I think he still has some hands that are just always going to fold, like king queen with a heart, for example, or some ace highs with a heart. But I think when the 3 rolls off, we can have pocket 3s, we can have 5-6, we can have ace 5.
Fuck in my pot, boy. Fuck in my pot. Get the fuck out of my pot. Thank you very much.
So, based on the river, I decided to use a big sizing. I think normally 9-10 probably wants to use a smaller sizing because in general, you want to pick a sizing for which you block some of the hands that Finn is going to call you with. So this way, your bluff basically becomes more efficient. And if I overbet, obviously he's going to fold a hand like Jack 10 and Jack 9, for example. So theoretically speaking, I think there we should probably use a smaller sizing. But hey, if you feel like, if you feel like your opponent's going to fold, yeah, just press the overbet button and hope he folds. Okay, we're back to wisdom here on the Wakko show. King 8 is a very good board for me. I'm just gonna basically bet very small and punish him. The Queen 10-10 is actually a very bad board for me. To have a backdoor flush draw and he bets 20%. So I think I'm still going to call. But these are boards that I think you're gonna have to fold wide hard. If you look at his 4-bet range, basically the worst hand that he has in his 4-bet range, maybe is ace 9 suited or something. Here I get a raise with king 8, easy call. I'm gonna check the turn. He bets again. This is really a shitty spot. I do think we have to call. But again, I'm not very happy about it. He could be merging me on the turn with a hand like ace king. Even though actually I don't think that really has much merge effects. I don't think I will ever fold a better hand. Here with the king 8, he raises flop, checks back. I can go and check the river. With ace check, I'm going to fold. You know, I was getting quite a good price on the turn, almost directly drawing. Assuming that, my outs, I think on the turn is probably just a fold because my outs aren't even clean. And here with king 8, easy call. And he had king 7. Which I don't think is a raise on the flop. So actually, I think my hand is probably a fold on the turn because let's say I prove to a king because the board is paired. Obviously, he then makes kings full and I'm a sucker with my straight. King 5 can sometimes 4-bet, but not going to. Ace king, easy, get it in. So yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I do think in general, when the 4-bet range of your opponent connects that well, like on queen 10-10, you should usually be careful. So I think from that perspective, we should not have called turn. I think flop is in with the backdoor flush draw. I wouldn't be surprised if without the backdoor flush draw, it's just a fold on the flop. Gonna overcall it with the queen 10 off with the recreationals. And actually, I think I'm going to donk this flop. And I think actually one big blind will do. So that's what we're going for. Got one caller. Got two callers. Got three callers. No respect, guys. No respect. And I think on the turn I'm going to split my range. And I think queen 10 still wants to bet. And I think... Two and a half big blinds should do. Get a fold, we get a call. We get another call. River. I think it's actually very likely that we still have the best hand, so I'm gonna go for a small bet again. Probably will still get called by worst, and maybe this guy sometimes does something funky. Saying that he has the 10-8, but I have the 10, my friend. He raises. And he can have my money if he has it. He was slow playing me all the way. It was either that or he rivered something. And rivering something, I think there is going to be quite unlikely. I think there's recreationals there. It's just an... This hand can go either way. I'm going to start with a check. The jacks here can actually also go either way. I'm going to start with an overbet versus recreational. The jack 9, easy call on the turn. This is not really a sizing he should be using that often. Usually then when that happens, it's quite transparent. So he probably has a weak jack. Could be a bit thin. Here with the jacks. What is a good sizing to bet? I'll bet 125 again. But I like the way I played the queen 10. I think I played that hand well. King Jack 3 4 8. Raise from the cutoff, so I'm gonna have a hand like Jack 10 off in my range. And it's not really important. I'm gonna see bet. As a crazy person, if I had a club in my hand, I think this hand would make it in my betting range. Maybe this hand already makes it in my betting range. I'm not 100% sure. Then on the turn, I definitely do think it makes it in my betting range. We're gonna have turn some set some of the time. We can have a hand like a7, 8-9, 8-10 that we check back the flop with because it's two-tone. There's the 3s and the 4s, which I guess 4s are always open, but 3s not necessarily. King Queen, quite a good board for me. Like to start off with a small bet here. I see some royal flush potential, so let's just go for that. And he folds. Dude, it was 10%. So cheap. It must be Dutch. No, he's not Dutch. Queen deuce suited versus the limp. Going to call. Going to actually bet the flop. We bet the ace king. We have quite some cards to improve upon. A king, a 10, a 3, a 5. He raises. Going to call. And I was going to say versus calling range, I think we still do quite well. We can make him fold a hand like queen 9 straight away, which is a little bit beneficial. Obviously, the only downside is that he could now sometimes raise. Now we're going to get sucked in as we basically have direct odds to call, or at least almost. Do we still sometimes win? Yes, ace jack. That's unfortunate. He did give us the correct price. Cloven. Just like here. He's giving us a good price to draw, so let's try that drawing. We'll make a note on him though. Afraid of flushes or gets to value bet. It's a good note to have on recreationals. I would say it's a general note on recreationals, but it's again good to see it confirmed. Like recreationals often easily overbluff in these kind of spots. Not necessarily because they're so bluff happy, but because they forget the value bet. And if your value betting range suddenly exists of, very little cards, then you need just a couple of bluffs and you're basically already overbluffing. Ace 5, easy check. Don't think I'm going to check raise this. Maybe if I had a backdoor flush draw or something to go with my hand. Just half pot. I think I'm actually just gonna fold straight away. The 6 is a lousy out. And even if I hit my 6 and it's good, then we have to dodge a 10 and a 9 on the river. So, yeah. Not too happy about it. Check 8, face a check back. Going to check again. In my opinion, to play correctly. Okay, now I have to be careful what I say. He bets quite big. I think I can just get away with folding Jack 8. As a hand like 10-9, for example, is a pair plus an open-ender. There's 2 flush draws, so I have pair plus draws. I have overs to the king. Some ace highs with a draw. So I think Jack 8 just wants to check fold. But what I was saying versus the check back, people play different strategies in check back. I think it's one of the lines where people play least common. So having a good idea, if it's a villain that you play against regularly, to take a look at his game to see how he constructs his check back range and what that means, I think can give you some good information. Ace 8 is close. If I had a club or something with my hand, or at least a flush card, I would have probably bet. Ace 9, I would probably bet. Now it goes check, check, check. I think we just have a bet. The diamond should not really have improved him. A club would have been worse. Actually, we could have probably bet bigger. I think when the flush completes, this is a fine sizing. I think if it rivers the blank, I'm going to split between small and big. I think now just betting 3/4 is fine. Tens, facing a 3-bet from the small blind. I think we have a call. It's quite a good board for me. I don't think 7s and 8s versus MP is always going to 3-bet. Okay, so he does check. I'm going to bet this some of the time. Rolled quite high, so I'm going to start off with a bet. He can call me with pocket nines. Can get some protection versus some overcards. If he check raises, obviously I'm not very happy, but I think we call one. Here with ace 8. I'm going to go for a check. It's a good turn. Checks. I don't mind actually a small bet here. Here, I don't think he really checks much stronger hands on the river. Actually going to play a bet here with the ace 8. I think actually this was the same player as before. He calls. And I think we check the river. And he had top set. Yeah, actually, I don't think the turn bet is that great in these positions, in hindsight. Actually, I have a limp here. He does this some of the time. I think king 9 against his strategy. I'm not really sure what to do. I think it's a bit too weak versus his strategy to ISO. And I feel like it's a bit too strong to fold. So yeah, then what's left is the limp. Kings check back twice. And I think I'm going to bet the river. And king 9 easy fold. He snaps, that's not good news. I think he should just bet that. I think it's an over check. Because I'm gonna river like some king queen. I'm gonna have some king jack. So basically, and I mean, I would have called with kings anyway. So he didn't really gain much value in my opinion, but I do think he loses value. Pocket kings for a bet. It's a two-tone board, so I'm gonna use a little bit more bigger bets. I'm gonna bet a little bit less in general. And squeeze here with the ace queen. Kind of hard to go with my hand. Do you think I'm going to check? His bluffs. Okay, that's a very bad river. Like his bluffs on the hands that have air on the turn, we are gonna have hands that have very little equity versus my hand, like king jack, king 10, jack 10. So I don't mind checking and keeping those hands in. Basically, jack 10 draws to 4 clean outs and 2 very bad outs for him. So there's a scenario where jack 10, where sometimes I river a boat and he rivers a straight. And I think just checking and keeping my EV high even on a heart. And if the river is a blank, just raise. I think there is a fine strategy. Jacks. This is close in terms of what I want to do versus recreational. It's not really a GTO sizing that I just used. But I think versus recreational, it's fine. So on the flop, sizing wise, both smaller bets and bigger bets have benefits. The benefits of bigger bets is you're getting more money in versus the range that calls now, like I had like pocket sevens. Let's say, for example, 2 scare cards would have rolled off, then at least we had a big bet on the flop. Downside of big betting is that he will do less funky shit. And recreationals, you know, they sometimes do funky shit. And I like to usually play a strategy versus a recreational where funky shit can happen. So obviously, for example, it's quite standard to size down there with, for example, and like aces or kings. Jacks a little bit less so in theory, but I think versus a recreational, it's still fine. King high. King high, it's close. I'm gonna peel. Would have preferred to not have an 8, like king 5 or something, because then he basically has more air with a hand like 8-10 offsuit, for example. I think that's okay. I think now, I think we have a fine hand to overbet having a king. Jack 8, I'm going to start off with a bet. I'm going to do various strategies on a board like 10-5-3. I'm going to bet small sometimes. I'm going to bet quote big sometimes. I'm going to check a lot. I'm going to check raise. I'm going to check call. It's really a board where basically just play your hand. But in general, I would recommend just, you know, doing what your hand wants to do and then going from there. But especially on a board like that, I think that's just very important. Do you want to make 2022 your greatest poker year ever? Now, I've done a webinar on how to do that in our academy, which we have made available completely for free. So go over to pokerambition.com and let me help you achieve your goals. Not going to check raise sixes. I think if you start check raising middle pairs, it's always one with a set blocker. So 5-6, 7-6. I think those are okay-ish hands. Here with the 7-8, I'm gonna start with an overbet. The queen 9. And I think the river is just a check. I don't think our hand is strong enough to do anything else. Let's start with that. The 5 does improve its range, sort of. But I think pot is probably still a good sizing. I think he has some out of filter on the turn, mainly Jack 10. We block a straight. Correction, we have a straight. He should not have 9-10, and I can have all the 9-10s. So definitely a spot where we're going to do a lot of jamming, because I don't think 9-10 wants to play passive 2 streets, or at least passive just calling. I don't think 9-10 really wants to do. So should be good here. And I think jam is probably the only sizing we can have jack tens. So it's not a spot where I think with jamming we lack bluffs. Here I'm going to call with pocket fours. Recreation small blind. 8, 9. Gonna be close for me. Fold this time. He checks. We have good fours. As in, we block like some ace-4 suited for what it's worth. Just gonna start it with a bet, but not too happy about it. Basically just hoping that he folds some air. Or maybe that he sometimes calls with king high and checks it down. I think it's a spot where you want to bet your lowest pairs first. Let's say at 8s, I would always check, but I think 4s is a fine check. And now on the river, strongly hope that he checks, but if he bets, yeah, we're kind of in a shitty spot, and I don't think there's much else we can do than just fold. He bets pot. Yeah, I don't think there's much we can do here. Actually, I'm gonna go for the over limp here again with the 4-8. Really funky this one, but hey, it's sort of a suited connector in my brain. With 2 recreationals behind and him allowing us the chance to get into the pot. I think this is kind of the way we should exploit him. I think I'm gonna 3-bet this hand. I'm tempted to peel, but I'm gonna fold. Here I went for the 3-bet. I don't think I'm gonna do much calling versus a 5x open. If this guy is still behind. So now thinking queen off. It becomes a 3-bet. The 8-4 was close. We could have called, we could have raised, we could have folded. If you flip a coin with 3 sides and just pick one, it's probably fine. This is a very shitty hand. I'm going to call because we have possible recreation. I'm not really sure who this guy is and a recreation on the big blind. And I think this is a board I'm gonna bet big on. Don't try this at home, ladies and gentlemen. Then I was referring to the calling with ace-2 suited. But you know, if I see a hand that is suited, flop a straight, flop flush. Gotta be in it. Gotta be in it. Pocket 7s versus a recreational. Gonna start off with a 1/3 bet. Part of my let the guy do something funky strategy. He snap checks the river. I think we just have the best hand. If he snap checks, I think with a 9 he would have considered it. So I think he just has a lower hand than mine, like a 3, like a 4, and pocket 5s, pocket 6s. We squeeze out some value. There's the 3x, 9-10 offsuit. Not really sure. So recreational versus so regular, I think it's just a fold. I'm very tempted to make a little check raise. Let's not let that spot get escalated if I was already not even sure if I should have defended. There was some wisdom right there. Queen 10, easy call. You check now on the turn. And depending on sizing, easy call on the river. Here. Actually, I'm going to call. Easy call with the Queen 10. He had the nuts. Calling here has some benefits and some downsides. Nah, I think 3-betting would have been better. Obviously, you know, my mentality is usually I want to play pots with the fish, but we had this limping guy over limping. So we now let him in the pot as well. And assuming that he post-flop based. sort of decent. You know, we let the guy in. We probably don't really want that. Actually gonna check again with this exact combo, blocking the ace king, blocking the king queens. And again, part of my strategy is try to get the recreational in a spot where he can do something funky, like he did now. Or at least we don't know if this is something funky. Okay, so now we have a call. Actually tempted to call. So I think he's still going to value bet here with a fish. My line is really weak. So if he has a king, he's most likely just value betting now versus the recreational. So I don't lose value. Or at least that was my thought process. Now let's see. Oh, wow. I was completely wrong. How the fuck do you check that behind? With a recreational in the pot. He had king 9, 2 pair. The rec I was talking about. And he ISO'd king 9 offsuit. Okay, both players had 2 pair and we didn't get the money in. I'm gonna take responsibility here and say that we probably played our hand wrong. I'm gonna call here with the 7-8 suited. Can call, can 3-bet. I would just mix it up. But the rec cannot check behind king 9. Versus when there's a recreational in the pot. In my professional opinion. And he did it really fast as well, so apparently we think different. I mean, how many better hands do I have? 8 with a heart, I guess, on the river. That's about it. Okay, we face a jam. Yeah, this is a spot where I'm very capped, and he's still very uncapped. So it's a spot that is quite good to do jamming. Obviously, you can have the nut flush. You can have boats. You can have straight, but a straight, I don't think he will ever raise. So that's at least already eliminated. Don't know if he always jams the nut flush. So he's basically, I think he's going more towards boats. Main bluffs, I think, would be ace king with a heart. Maybe a queen. We don't block any bluffs, but we also don't block any value. I think I'm just gonna fold. And with the ace deuce, I made the small bet, and I'm gonna just check down and hope to win. The reason I folded is he could still just call my raise with a queen or with the hands that I just mentioned, the ace king with a heart. It's not like that. Those hands are just, oh, I only have one option and that's all in. But hey, it's a tough spot. We're gonna be super capped there. I'm gonna call a 3-bet here at pocket 9s. And flop's quite close. But I think first cutoff I'm gonna call, but not very happy about it. If it was king, jack 5, I would have folded, but yeah, it's close. I'm going to make a little raise here, the 5-7. And now I'm a bit fucked. Checks. Okay, that's a bit of a weird check. Decided to bet because I think he could have checked behind. I had like ace jack, ace 10. He was also thinking about it on the turn. So I think that could make sense. Obviously, he can now also have king jack. Obviously, the benefit of checking is that we can... Let's say I had jack queen. I would definitely check there. Because obviously then we're blocking a lot of the hero calls. Yeah, so he indeed had ace 10. That made a lot of sense. He was thinking about what to do on the turn. He wanted to turn this into a bluff. And I think if he had like complete nothing, like 6-7 suited, he would have checked the turn faster. So based on the fact that he checked, he basically tank checked. Based on that fact, I think betting ourselves is probably better. And I don't think we can bet very big because which fucking bluff are we supposed to have? I guess we can have 5-4, 5-6. I should have probably bet slightly bigger. 20% would have probably been better. Gonna check back and try to snap out some bluffs. That's 1 street. That's 2 street.
Got him, got him, got him.
Started with a big bet here with the jack 3. Back to flush draw. The 3, I mean, the gutters that we turn aren't that great, but I think it's still fine hand to start betting. And again, it's a board, just like a board I think we had earlier, blind versus blind. Like these 2 to 10 high disconnected boards, you can... There's many things you can do, basically. Turn a gutter, could consider... So don't mind a bet here. I think it's a fine play. Because we have some showdown value on the river. I think I had like ace 3 or a king high flush. Draw might call the turn and check behind on the river. So I think it's actually an okay spot to go for a bet. Okay, jack 10. Quite close. Pretty close. And go to color on the river with king 10. Checks. Delay. Is he going to check raise an 8? I think so. If he doesn't check raise an 8, I think I would prefer overbetting, but I think he's going to check raise an ace. 8 on the river. Easy call. Again with queen jack. I think I might even raise the river. It's a bit dicey. Checks. We want to bluff this. We want to bluff against ace. And like against the same hand. I think if he would have bet, I would have probably raised him. I think he's still bluffing a ton, but I don't really want to call and get bluffed by ace high. So I think a raise there would have been good. Marco BGD. No clue who that is. I think I'm going to call. This is a very good river for me. As in, if he had an under pair, I now win. Obviously, also part of the reason why I call, because we have some extra outs. Did we need them? No, we didn't. We had him completely crushed. He had king jack. Deuce 4. Go to check behind the spade version. So I don't really want to get check raised. I think on the turn we have an easy bet. Gonna use a bigger sizing, but not too big because he could still have like some hands that I don't have. On the river, I think we have to bluff this. We don't have any, we have no diamonds. We block ace 4, ace deuce, which could be his worst ace x that he decides to play this way. We do suited because it's pretty. And I don't really mind check raising this hand. Yeah, he bets big. Don't mind check raise. No, I don't. I think it's fine. Sizing wise, actually, I think we still went a bit on the bigger side. It's a very good turn for me. I'm going to bet big. Interesting river. Of course he has king 4.
Nah, it's literally. I think I'm just gonna stop. This is actually fucking unreal. I think I'm just gonna stop, guys. I don't think have you ever seen anything like this in your fucking life? What are you on about? Like, are you kidding me? This is disgusting. Are you seeing this? How do people win? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What the shit is going on? Oh my god. Right, I'm done, guys. We're back in the room. We're back in the room.
Not a great turn. I think the best thing to do now is check. Because the board is quite wet. Like, I would much rather block this hand if it was a rainbow board. Actually gonna go for a check. And hope he doesn't have king X spades or something that he's now checking behind. King queen of spades, king queen of clubs. I guess those would be the hands that I lose most value against. And now I think I'm just raising all in. So yeah, there on the river, you're gonna lose value against, like I said, a jack, but a jack is less likely because I have a jack. And mainly the king high flush draws that check behind on the turn. So there's a couple combos, but I do think he's now gonna bluff maybe a hand like pocket sixes. And obviously the main value that you're now gaining is if I would bet 3/4, he would just snap call me with, I don't know, ace 8 of clubs or something. Whereas now if I check, he bets ace-8 of clubs, and now I can raise all in. So that's basically where the value has to come from now with king-jack. Plus the fact that I blocked the jack. So that reduces the amount of combos that could hero call, but check behind if I check. Pocket aces, I was going to say the chances of you getting a walk are usually quite big when you have aces. The chances of you getting a raise and a 3-bet in front of you are actually quite small. So hashtag blessed for that to happen. Also, people are way more likely to fold if you have 2 aces in your hand. Unfortunately, that's just how it works when you have 2 aces. Would love it to be different. It's going to be very hard for me to be bluffing here. I don't actually see any hands that have a bluff. And I think for this sizing, he will still have to raise his 10x, and now I can unleash the true strength of my hand. I also don't really think there is much value in checking. I mean, a hand that I guess could bluff the river with if you check, like an ace high or something that didn't barrel. Because he's gonna have rivered some king jacks, some ace jacks. I think min bet there is a good sizing. It's bad. It's probably the best flop you can hope for. Jam is probably a good option, but I'm gonna go for a small bet, and again, give the recreational an option. I think giving the recreational an option is usually a good idea, because in general, what they do with options is significantly worse than what a regular or what a solver would do with options. I mean, that's why they're recreational, right? So if we just jam there, basically I don't think we really allow him to make much mistakes. That's what I'm trying to say. Unless you think he just calls king jack off, then obviously by jamming, we definitely make him make mistakes. Turn with kings is a bit close. Aces I would definitely check, but I think with kings I'm just gonna barrel. Yeah, he's gonna fold a lot. Especially when I also have a club in my hand. But I think checking would be a bit too fancy. It's the dilemma of checking loses value versus his pairs, his flush draws, his ace queen. Where checking gains value versus his queen jack, ace 10, king queen, random hands that will fold. So then, for example, in that spot, I had a club. Then if you have a club, that kind of reduces the downsides. Fish starts potting. I have a pair and an open-ender. So far, this guy is looking to be quite aggressive, so I'm going to call. Interesting turn. Check. Keeping the random factor. That's half pot. Really not happy here, but I'm going to call once more. That's not the pair, the board that we wanted to see. He mucks. That's good news. Yeah, pocket deuces. Okay. Aggressive plays there. Pocket deuces. Let's throw a little 3-bet skier with the jack 4. Why not? This one can go either way. I'll do 50-50. I think king jack is going to be checking. Bet ace king, king 10, I would definitely bet, but I think king jack specifically probably wants to check. Face a squeeze here with the 5-6. I think I'm going to call the squeeze. Okay, he calls it, and I'm definitely going to call the squeeze. But I would have called the squeeze regardless. Bad river. For those reasons. Come on, don't do anything stupid. Just call. See flop. Or timeout. It's the other option. Okay, calls. Okay, guys, we have potential. I am tempted to throw a little bet ski, but do we really? I don't think really mind. We really mind if we get raised, to be honest. It's not like we have such a great hand. And that's what you go, good turn. Unless he has aces, obviously. Don't jinx it, Wacko. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. No, ace-jack suited.
Give it to me, baby. Give me pocket. What the fuck?
%200%, that's a lot. Obviously calling. With trips. It's a very bad river. Actually going to lead small, I think. Wasn't really sure in terms of sizing if I wanted to go 20 or 10. I went 10 and he called me with King Queen. So definitely a hand that he would have checked behind. Now, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Take a look at other videos that we've made. I'm sure you will like them as well. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. And make sure to join our Discord community so you can stay up to date with new content, new promotions that we have running here at Poker Ambition. And if you want to know more about Poker Ambition and our services, go over to the site pokerambition.com. Thank you guys for watching and see you in the next video.